How's it going, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel here on No Holds Barred Wrestling Podcast. This is the debut of our brand new series, How to Book. It's either going to be with myself or with Corporate Cappy or vice versa, one or the other. Basically, it's going to be a series about how to book a certain pay-per-view, an upcoming pay-per-view. So that's why the title is How to Book. And basically, you can see like we're doing No Mercy today, so it's going to be for every upcoming pay-per-view. I'm going to release one of these videos in this series on how I would book the card from start to finish, how it would start in the pre-show, and in match order form, how I would book the entire card. So that's all going to be right here on YouTube, and then eventually I will convert it to the podcast form. So for you listeners out there that do listen to it on iTunes, Stitcher, or Spreaker, it'll be on there for you guys as well. This is just the video version on YouTube. So guys, make sure you go follow the podcast on Twitter at NoHoldsBarredWP. You can also follow us on Instagram, NoHoldsBarredWP as well. And you can follow myself on Twitter at RealKyleMasters, or you can follow Corporate Cappy, and his is simply at Corporate Cappy. So not going to beat around the bush, guys. Not going to do any more plugs. We're just going to jump right into it and book No Mercy, which is in, I think, 4 weeks now or 3 weeks. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty decent pay-per-view. 100% better than SummerSlam for sure. So this is how I would book the card, and we'll start off in the pre-show for sure. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty good pre-show match. I don't think it's going to be one where you're going to necessarily be bored. You're going to want to be invested into it and just see what happens. I think I picked two guys that are going to produce a really good wrestling match, and I just feel like they would be in the pre-show. So the match I would choose for the pre-show is Elias Samson, and he will go one-on-one with Jason Jordan, Kurt Angle's son. I can kind of see Jason Jordan still looking for competition. I mean, he did look for on Monday this past week, and he found Finn Balor, and he lost. I think it's going to continue with several other superstars. I think it's going to eventually lead to Elias Samson. I can kind of see a feud between those two happening. Maybe Jason Jordan thinks, like, I can definitely get one on the Drifter. So we'll see what happens with that. But I can definitely see it being in the pre-show. It could actually make the pre-show watchable for once. Both these guys actually produce a good wrestling match. Here's hoping there's no beach ball mania. I really hope there's none of that shit. Maybe you can have like Elias cheat to win. Continue into like a slow transition of Jason Jordan turning heel by going backstage after an argument with Kurt Angle that, Elias cheated to win, and Kurt Angle's like, no, man, the match is fair, square, and it is what it is. And then, Jason Jordan might just get mad at Kurt Angle or something, and then, eventually turns heel on him. I kind of had like a small prediction. I think I told to a couple of my friends that I could kind of see Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan wrestling at like a Survivor Series or like a Royal Rumble, like maybe like a pre-match for Kurt Angle's big WrestleMania match. I could see him actually fighting his son, doing like a father-son battle. So that's why I think it could lead into that. And other than that, the match is definitely going to be a good one. Lots of good technical wrestling from both these guys. We've seen how good Elias Samson is and how good his in-ring work has been so far, and he's turning out to be a really, really good packaged superstar. And we know Jason Jordan can actually wrestle as well. His athleticism is just over the top. We're definitely going to be treated to an Elias Samson song for sure. Definitely probably ripping both the father and son duo. But I do see the Drifter coming out on top and causing more frustration for Jason Jordan as he tries to prove himself to his father and everyone else that he can hang with the big guys on the main roster. So that's what I would book for the pre-show for sure. In this case, first match of the main card, I think I would book the Hardys and Rollins and Ambrose, but I'm going to add a tag team here. I think I'm going to add the Club. We need a heel factor for this, so it looks like it's going to be the Hardys against Rollins and Ambrose for sure, just from what we've seen on Monday Night Raw this week. I think you add the Club in. I think you really do. I think it's another heel team that you need. This would be a good way to open the show for sure. It's a good way to get the crowd hot and ready for this pay-per-view. You don't want to start with a boring match or something that's like not too exciting. I think this is a really good one. Hoping the Hardys become broken or woken at least soon. I mean, we got more of a tease out of it on Monday Night Raw this week with Matt and Jeff. Their aneurysms are just getting like more and more like week by week. So the current gimmick, I think, for them is becoming really stale. This like return of the Hardy Boys thing. I think it's already done. We've had that since WrestleMania, right? It's been 4 months almost, and like I feel like it's getting stale. And I think a lot of you out there think the same thing. Again, I would add the Club as the added as the heel factor for this. I don't think the two face teams could keep this feud going for the next 4 weeks. I think you really need to add them in, and I would add them in for sure just to give a heel factor for it. Plus, I mean, what else is the club doing? Let's be honest. What else are they doing right now? They're not really doing much. I'm not sure if they add a stipulation to this or not. I mean, I probably would because there hasn't been a lot of stipulation matches in the tag team division lately, not even since WrestleMania, which was the ladder match when the Hardys came back. So I think it's due for a stipulation. I think we definitely should get one. Seeing as how Raw's not getting Hell in a Cell anymore, so they're not going to be getting a stipulation pay-per-view, I don't think, until TLC. Or I think I heard it's going to SmackDown. Regardless, I think there should be maybe a stipulation for this. I wouldn't book the turn of Rollins or Ambrose heel in this case. I think you kind of save that for like a big pay-per-view, and Survivor Series is coming up next, or a Royal Rumble. I think that's when you save it. And I kind of think WWE is kind of going to go towards that role, and it's going to lead to a Rollins versus Ambrose at WrestleMania, like one-on-one. So I wouldn't book the heel turn this soon. I think that's way too soon for that. I mean, I know WWE likes to pull the trigger, and we all know that they like to pull the trigger and start shit soon. So I wouldn't do it personally. I wouldn't book it like that. I can see them giving the titles to, but yeah, in this match, I can see them giving the titles to either the Hardys or the club if they decided to dethrone Ambrose and Rollins. In my case and how I would book it, I would dethrone them right now. But again, that's going to start some tension a little bit, but maybe they don't. There's not enough tension to split up, but there's enough tension to they keep fighting and seeing if they can get their titles back, and it eventually leads to a turn, maybe a Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble. I could see the club winning. You know what? I would want the club to win this one. I would book them to win because they can continue their feud with the Hardys leading after this. You can't continue the Hardys and Rollins and Ambrose after this. I think the club would be a perfect fit for that. And I think you give the titles to the club because they are long overdue for a tag team title run right now. And I think that would definitely put them back in the credible caliber of like being a dominant force in the tag team division, because right now, let's be honest, they haven't been doing shit. Like, they've been doing jack shit. So I think giving them the titles here, you have to put the club in. I would book it in right now. Like next week on Raw, you add the club into this feud and you build them up until No Mercy, and then you have them dethroned. You have them like a cheat win, whatever it takes, but have the club win the tag team titles here, and then continue their feud with the Hardys, and then maybe that leads them to finally become broken or awoken, whatever they want to call it. And that's how I would book it. I would definitely book it that way, and then Rollins and Ambrose kind of maybe in between trying to fight for their spot back because they're going to get their official rematch. So I think it's a good way to do it. I mean, WWE wants, I know WWE wants a New Day. I've heard the New Day, they want them to be like the next like great tag team that wins all the title belts, like the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys. But you remember those three teams. They feuded with each other a lot. So I think you could kind of build that with Hardys, Rollins, and Ambrose in the club for the time being until you split up Rollins and Ambrose. So again, I would just add the club to this, and I actually would have them win because they need to be credible again right now because really they're not doing that much. So that would be the first match of the card. The second match of the card, I think, would be Enzo Amore and Neville for the Cruiserweight title. Looks like they're going in that direction just based off what we've seen this week. So, yep, for the Cruiserweight title, second match of the night, Enzo Amore against Neville. Hopefully this feud can do something for Enzo Amore. I can see this feud helping out, making Neville's feuds interesting again because his feuds haven't been good at all in the last couple of months. They've been stale. Like stale as shit. So Enzo, I think, can add a little bit to this feud and make people invested in a Neville title feud again. Like it's been a while since he won the title in January at the Royal Rumble. So you kind of want people to get more invested in Neville and him holding the championship and being this dominant force in 205 Live. I'm hoping to see more of Enzo in 205 Live, like actual wrestling, because he's basically just been a ragdoll for Big Cass the last couple of months. So I think we need to see some more wrestling out of Enzo Amore, and that's how I would book it. I would book him in a couple of warm-up matches in 205 Live. Maybe you can have Neville interfere, just create shit, have him on commentary, just create the feud with Enzo Amore, like build it up. So I think that's how I would book it. Now, at the No Mercy, I don't see Neville dropping the title. Like, Enzo's not going to be the one to dethrone him right away. You don't want to hot potato the belt that soon. But knowing WWE lately, they could do it. We just saw what happened at SummerSlam. But I would continue their feud after No Mercy. This is one of those feuds that I would book to go on after No Mercy and keep building it. And then I think there could be some hidden chemistry maybe between these two. And then I think eventually you might have Enzo dethroned. I mean, you want to build this guy up again and make him credible again, right? Because he hasn't been doing much, and now without Big Cass, he really can't do anything. So I think eventually you do have Neville get dethroned by Enzo Amore or maybe someone else, but you continue this feud past No Mercy 100%. So that's how I would book that match, and that's how that would be the second match of the night. Now, the third match of the night, I would put Samoa Joe versus John Cena. It looks like they're going that way again from just a lot of these matches are based from what we've seen this week on Raw. That's why I'm saying it, and I'm taking some of those matches and booking it the way I would book it. But I would book John Cena Samoa Joe 150%. This is a long overdue feud we've been wanting to see on TV, and we saw that WWE were testing the waters with that at live events. So I would book it this way. I would agree with WWE and book this match. I wouldn't be surprised if this happens this early in the card, though. WWE's been putting a lot of like big time matches early up in the card just to keep people invested in the pay-per-view. I think this is a perfect spot for John Cena and Samoa Joe, considering the rest of the card I'm going to go through. So John Cena and Samoa Joe for sure would be the third spot in this pay-per-view. I would try to make this match of the night for sure. I think this is one of the matches I would make it one of the matches people go back to and say, you know what, yeah, John Cena and Samoa Joe stole the show. It's got to be a really, really good match. Can't be any short DQ, 5-minute bullshit matches, something like that. We all know John Cena at this point in his career is going to try most of the time to put people over, as we didn't see that case in Baron Corbin. But you know that at this point in his career, he's going to want to try to put people over. And I guarantee you Cena's thinking like, you know, he looks at Samoa Joe and he's a guy that needs to be shown as a dominant guy on the roster, and he would be gladly to put him over. And definitely this is a way to put him over in a non-championship match, so especially a guy like Samoa Joe. I would book this match to be very, very physical contest. You got to have a lot of near finishes for sure. You got to take all out of this match because it looks like this is going to be a one-off. I don't think they're going to continue this feud past No Mercy unless WWE has plans, but I wouldn't book it past No Mercy. But this is a tricky ending. Very, very tricky for Cena. He can't take a clean pin. Cena cannot take a clean pin here at all. It wouldn't make any sense in my opinion. Or you can't have him tap out. We've have Cena get choked out in the past. Cena has been choked out. I think it was in the Rusev feud. He kind of passed out without submitting. Sorry. So this one's kind of tricky, and I really don't know how I would book the ending of this match. I think I would probably go in the direction that it would end the feud, whatever ending they chose, and whatever I would book. This way, Cena, who is a part-time wrestler, can actually take some time off after this, and then Joe can go on looking strong. But I definitely would book Samoa Joe to win. And just, again, it's tricky on how I would make this finish. I don't know what would happen. Maybe the referee's distracted or something, and Joe low blows him or something like a cheap win kind of thing. But you want to make sure Samoa Joe looks dominant going out. I can't see Cena taking like a clean pin here. So it's really, really tricky on how I would book this. But I think I definitely would have Samoa Joe come out with the win in this one, and then Cena can take some time off because we know he's part-time. So, because I don't see any feud with him after No Mercy because I can't really think of any. So we'll see what happens unless he feuds with Roman Reigns, which is inevitable. I mean, people can call that, but I got a feud with Roman Reigns coming up later. The next match I would book, and this is I think this is the fourth match. Yep, the fourth match in the card, and that is the Women's Championship on Raw. And that is Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. We know what's going to happen, but I'm adding someone to this feud. I'm adding Nia Jax because why not? Who else in the division is actually doing something on the main roster for Raw? And I'm adding Nia Jax into the story solely based as I don't want to see another rematch between Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss again. We just seen that at SummerSlam. We don't need another one-on-one match. Sasha has been fucking completely cringe as a babyface on the mic. Completely cringe. It's getting to like Bayley level cringe, and I'm saying this is coming from a Bayley fan here, and I hate what they've done to her. Sasha Banks is slowly getting up there, and as much as Cora Cabby doesn't like to hear it, he's got to sort of agree with that. Her gimmicks, or sorry, her scripts that she's getting for her promos are absolutely trash. Like absolutely, they're just terrible. We need heel Sasha back. Nia Jax has just been dominant, and they need to continue and make more note of her dominance by adding her to this feud and adding her to this title match. It makes her more credible for her dominance right now, instead of just, burying people like Emma and then they're not doing anything about it, like doing nothing after it. I think this creates more of a surprise and mystery factor on who would win this match too. A lot of people say, like, oh, Alexa Bliss is the poster girl. Automatically, she's going to win, confirmed. No, absolutely not. AKA last year's No Mercy cover star or like promo poster guy, The Miz, who then lost to Dolph Ziggler in a career versus title match. Point. Anyways, I would book this very close, though. This has got to be like a very close women's match. It can't be any of these quick 5 to 6 minute matches again. I think you have Nia Jax dominate both girls for sure. Like, you got to make her look strong as you have been. But I would have Sasha Banks win and retain her title. There's no title changes here. For one, we don't need a hot potato belt again with this Raw Women's title. We already seen that last year at this point with the Raw Women's title. We don't need it again. And two, Sasha Banks should carry it until Bayley comes back. And then for the love of God, WWE, turn one of them heel. I think you have to in this case. You can't have two faces going after each other for the title. Especially Bayley and Sasha Banks. That'd be the most cringe feud ever if one of them is not heel. So for the love of God, WWE, turn one of them fucking heel. If, that's what I would do. I mean, this is how to book this show, but I'm just saying in WWE's case, please turn one of them heel. But I would book that to happen. You have Sasha Banks hold the title until Bayley comes back from her injury, and that's when you have one of them turn heel. I would prefer more Sasha Banks. I know Bayley still cringe as a face, but they can work. They had a good feud down in NXT when it was that type of role where Sasha was a heel and Bayley was a face. And they're trying to build Bayley like the John Cena of the women's division, so I don't think she's going to ever turn heel. So that's how I would book it. So we'll move on to the next match. It has the Intercontinental Championship match versus The Miz, with The Miz facing off against Roman Reigns. As much as everyone does not want this to happen, or there's a lot of people that it doesn't want to happen, it's almost inevitable. And that's why I would book it. Roman Reigns being out of the main title picture right now and for a while is a good thing. So having him in the mid-card role is fine. It's acceptable. Now, don't get me wrong. The Miz, great Intercontinental Champion. Awesome. He's building up. I mean, he's not getting the TV time or the booking rate, but he's one of those credible Intercontinental Champions. He's a great on the mic. He's good in the ring. He's good. He's a great Intercontinental Champion. What can I say? And the promos we got on Raw this week, he needs to do this. Okay, so if you're going to have Roman Reigns versus The Miz, that promo we got from The Miz this week on Raw, that shoot promo, he's got to continue being this Miz for this feud with Roman Reigns in order for it to work and for people to get invested in. If you have The Miz keep breaking the fourth wall and ripping on Roman Reigns every week, you're going to get people to watch this match. 150%. The feud with The Miz being this way can at least make it more like the John Cena and Miz feud that everyone at first hated, but then when they started feuding and breaking the fourth wall, people were more invested in it and looking forward to it at WrestleMania. So I think that's what you do with The Miz and Roman Reigns. You kind of have to go in that direction. The Miz would surely be get a babyface reaction, even though WWE thinks Roman would get that reaction. It's not going to happen. If Miz is going to get the babyface reaction, Roman's going to get the heel reaction, obviously. But the way I would book it, The Miz actually retains. Now, I know Roman's going to take another pin, and that's another loss because he hasn't won a match since WrestleMania. But the feud continues. This is another one of those feuds that's going to continue after No Mercy, and eventually you make Roman Reigns the champion. I think maybe by the next pay-per-view, if you have the pay-per-view before SummerSlam on Raw, you make Roman Reigns a champion, or you can even wait until Survivor Series. I think that's a little bit too long in my opinion, but you got to make Miz retain at least once against Roman, and you continue the feud after. I think it's one of those feuds that has potential to carry on, and again, you keep Roman out of the main title picture, and it looks like you're going to go that way until about WrestleMania time when Lesnar is still the champ, and they're going to book that match. Looks like that's inevitable too, but as for The Miz and Roman Reigns and how I would book it, I think you book it as The Miz retains here. Cheap, you have maybe the Miztourage interfere or Maurice, and you cause Roman the match, and then that causes Roman to get angry and demand a rematch. All that jazz after No Mercy, and that goes on to the rematch, and that's where Roman finally beats The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. So that's how I would book that, and that would be the co-main event of the night. So on to the main event, and it's already booked. I know, Strowman versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. I actually love this. A lot of people out there were saying that this is too soon. It needs to happen after... But it needs to, it needs to happen after what we saw at SummerSlam with the stare down of Strowman and Brock Lesnar. I think for sure it needs to happen. Again, a lot of people are, I know what people are saying. They're saying like this is way too early. It should be saved for a big pay-per-view. But I think from what we got at, I shouldn't say SummerSlam, SummerScam, you need to book this as soon as possible. You need to have Strowman versus Lesnar for the Universal Championship at the next pay-per-view, and we are getting it for sure now at No Mercy. So I would book this off as a one-off, though. I know a lot of people would hate that and would hate that in this kind of feud. I would book it off as a one-off. This feud should not continue after No Mercy. I don't think Brock is going anywhere anymore now that John Jones has come out and is got in trouble for steroids, something like that. So I think Lesnar should drop the title. Maybe... You know what? Hey, you know what? Sorry. I reread that wrong. So Brock's not going anywhere because of John Jones thing. So I would have Brock drop the title here. And most likely he's going to be taking a break. We know Brock Lesnar is not a full-time guy. So Brock Lesnar drops the Universal Championship to Braun Strowman here. And then Brock Lesnar goes on like a break, like his 2-month break. You know, he disappears for a while. I think this is where you definitely have it done at No Mercy. Hopefully coming back in a couple months to start a feud around Survivor Series time, re-feud for that Universal title, whoever the champion may be at that point. But this match is going to be brutal if we get into the match here. I honestly would book either a Falls Count Anywhere match or like a Last Man Standing. This match definitely needs a stipulation. I feel like it definitely should get one. So, again, Last Man Standing or Falls Count Anywhere, no holds barred, something like that, pun intended. Something like that. This match definitely needs a stipulation. It can't be just a normal match, especially what we've seen from Strowman on Raw and at SummerSlam, just absolutely demolishing Brock Lesnar. So I think there is going to be a stipulation, and that's how I would book it. I would book a stipulation as well. I would book Strowman to look very, very dominant in this match as well. I think you should book a lot of German suplex attempts by Brock Lesnar and Strowman just absolutely like ripping his arms off his stomach and throwing Lesnar. You got to make Strowman look very, very dominant if you're going to have the Universal title be taken off of Brock Lesnar and put on Braun Strowman. So, again, you have him break off German suplexes. You maybe... when Brock Lesnar tries a Kimura lock, you just have him like throw Lesnar into the outside, more power slams, use the outside area like steps and tables, stuff like that. I would book Strowman to eventually take some damage from Brock, though. You got to have Brock look at least credible in this match. It can't be like freaking Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. You got to have Brock fight back and make it a really close kind of matchup. But ultimately coming out on top as your new and now the new dominant role on Monday Night Raw and your Universal Champion, Braun Strowman. He can definitely be that guy, and he can easily replace Lesnar as the dominant champion on Raw and being that guy that just demolishes people, just like Lesnar is. Lesnar is that dominant champion, right? He has that beast factor. Strowman has that beast factor, and he's not even the champion yet. So I think if you give him the Universal title, he can be the replacement for Brock as he goes on his, couple months break. I can see maybe a possible feud with John Cena if he doesn't go on his part-time break as well. I think Strowman and Cena is definitely a match that people want to see. I mean, it looks like it'd be good. I mean, I'd be invested in it. I'd see what happens. Cena definitely wants a Universal title shot. He never had one yet. And it's inevitable as well, too. Or maybe, it's tough to see this, but a Finn Balor versus Braun Strowman is something they could do. I can actually see that. I would book it to be like a David versus Goliath kind of thing. WWE loves to do that, and they've done that in the past. Finn Balor versus Braun Strowman for the Universal title. I mean, it's something we haven't seen before. And again, like I said, you can book it as a David versus Goliath kind of thing, and that's how you book the storyline of it. I think that could work. I think it could work at the next Raw pay-per-view. Have Finn Balor versus Braun Strowman. So I like that. So that's how I would book the main event for No Mercy, and you have Braun Strowman dethroning Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. And that's how I would book the card, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you liked it. Let me know what you think. Add me on Twitter. I know Real Kyle Masters, and let me know what you think. Or drop a comment down in the YouTube version below. But guys, thanks for listening to how I would book, and that is the first episode when we were doing No Mercy. Make sure you subscribe to us on Twitter, No Holds Barred WP, and go to Instagram and follow us there, No Holds Barred WP as well. If you have Instagram, make sure you go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/NHBWR, to subscribe and hit that bell icon for all upload updates. Then make sure you go follow us on Spreaker, iTunes, and Stitcher, and give us a 5-star rating. I'm your self-proclaimed greatest host, Kyle Masters. I'll see you guys next time.